Hi guys, my name's Nomi and I'm an environmental science student at Half Moon Bay High School. I'm interested in science because of the way that it's fact-based and helps explain the world around us. I'm interested in environmental science because want to be able to help the world and leave it better than I found it.
Hey you guys, my name's Jake and I am a AP Environmental Science student at Half Moon Bay High School. I believe that studying the environment is very important because I live on a farm and I want to know like all the ways that we can just make ourselves more sustainable and lessen our impact on the environment. Today I'm here in our upper pasture and I would like to present to you Toni Corelli, who is a local botanist and author who's going to speak to you guys about some wildflowers and different plants that live here on the coast. I hope it's very fun to watch and interesting, and I hope it gets you guys thinking just about how these different plants affect life and the ecosystems here on the coastside. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Miss Corelli, and I hope you guys enjoy the video.
Hi, I'm Toni Corelli, and I'm a botanist, and I study the plants along the San Mateo coast. Today, I'm going to show you the dune plant community in Half Moon Bay. It can easily be seen along the nature trail. This slide shows the mounding dunes and the diversity of the plants in the dunes. The plants are low-growing and sprawling, and this is one strategy they have to live in the strong wind and salt spray. Here you can see the nature trail just north of Francis Beach campground. This guide will take you on a walk in our local area to see the plants that live in the dunes. This is the nature trail walk right here. And you can see that it's alongside the Coastside Trail. And this is where the Pelarcitos Creek goes out to the beach. This is an aerial view of the beach and dunes. The dunes in Half Moon Bay go all the way north from Francis State Beach to Pillar Point Harbor. The dunes are at the western edge of North America along the Pacific Ocean, just beyond the high tide, beyond the high tide level. The plants that live here are highly adapted to living in sand shifted by the wind and salt spray. So the trail starts over here and then goes on a rope trail through the dunes. And in these dunes, you can see all the different diversity of the dune plants that live here right next to the ocean. Plants need soil to grow, and the dune soil is sand. The sand is composed of a bunch of tiny rocks that come from the erosion of our sandstone bluff tops, the making of the sand has been going on here for thousands of years. So these are our sandstone bluff tops, and they're constantly eroding. New sand is being formed, and the old sand is constantly being shifted along the beach and the dunes. You can see how small the sand grains are here, these tiny crystals of tiny rocks. Sand is also formed from the erosion from the surrounding hills flowing to the ocean. Shown here where the Pelarcitos Creek comes out to the sea on the nearby coastal trail, making these sandbars and adding more sand to the sandy beach. Here are some of the plants that are growing in the dunes. This is the yellow sand verbena. It sprawls along the ground with strong branches that spread out from the roots. Under the sand, the plant has a large root that stores nutrients and water and holds the plant in place. The leaves are thick and leathery, making them strong so they don't blow away in the strong winds. The leaves are smooth so the sand and salt blows off of the leaves. It is called yellow sand verbena because of the yellow flowers that form this pom-pom-like cluster. Most of our dune plants flower once a year in the late spring and summer. This is the beach strawberry, and it is also adapted to living in the sand dunes. It has a deep fibrous root system that holds the plant in place. It has stem-like runners that produce new strawberry plants and make a net-like pattern that covers the sand and holds the sand in place, also making new strawberry plants as it grows on these runners. These plants have white flowers and produce small edible strawberries eaten by the local wildlife. So you can see the runners and how they're making new plants here in the ground. Eventually these runners get detached and that will be a new plant. That's another way of reproduction for the dune plants. The yellow bush lupine is named for its bright yellow flowers. It is one of the more upright shrubs in the dunes and can produce shelter for wildlife like this bunny. Plants need nutrients for growth, and most of the nutrients that plants get comes from the soil. But sand made from the small quartz crystals have very little nutrients available to the plants. So the nutrients for plant growth in the dunes comes from decomposing dune vegetation, animal waste, and other nutrients that get washed up from the ocean or blown in by the wind. Under the ground, lupine roots have nitrogen fixing nodules, and with the help of bacteria in the soil, add nitrogen, which is an essential plant nutrient, to the soil, making it available to the surrounding plants. You can see the leaves and how dew and fog and moisture attach themselves to the leaves, helping keeping the leaves fresh and moist. Plants need water to grow. They get most of their water from the winter rains here. We get about 24 inches of rain in the winter from December through March. But also important for the health of the dune plants is the summer fog that adds moisture to the plants and keeps them hydrated. So the summer fog is very important to help these plants grow in the summer, produce their flowers and their seeds. The Seaside wild buckwheat is another low-growing, spreading plant. It has gray-green leaves from the hairs on the leaf surface. The lighter gray leaves reflect the sunlight. Light is essential to plant growth, but too much direct light can burn and dry out the leaves. Each buckwheat produces many flowers in a flower head here. And the insects that pollinate it collect nectar and pollen. And while they're collecting the nectar and pollen, they're pollinating the plant as well, producing the seeds for other plants to grow. You can see how it sprawls on the ground here with many, many, many flower heads. Coyote brush has chemicals in its leaves that inhibit some plants from growing in or near them. Coyote brush is often used in restoration in disturbed areas to keep weeds from growing nearby. It is a very low growing spreading plant that flowers in the late summer. The white fluff is called pappus, and it is like a parachute attached to the seed and carries the seeds far and wide in the wind. The common name for coyote brush is used because it looks like a coyote walked by and left its fur on the plant when it is in seed. And these are the many seeds and flowers and individual seeds with the pappus. Very, very sprawling plant, grows very, very fast and low growing, spreads out. Ice plant is considered a non-native invasive plant. Ice plant was brought to California over 100 years ago from the coast of South Africa, where it is a native plant. The climate where it occurs naturally is similar to our climate here, and when planted along freeways and sandy areas in California, it grows very fast, forms a large, thick mat that chokes and smothers out all other plants. Where it is a native plant in South Africa, it is eaten by tortoises, baboons, antelopes, and other natural wildlife. So its spread is controlled by these grazing animals. There is no wildlife in California that eats ice plants, so it spreads rapidly and takes up whole dune areas, forming a monoculture where it is the only plant that occurs. This is why it is considered an invasive plant, because it invades an area, completely eliminating and inhibiting any native plants from growing. Volunteers through state parks in Half Moon Bay and other areas help remove the ice plant so the native plants can come back. So here you can see the monoculture of ice plant here in this one area where it's grown very fast and taken over this whole bluff top. Whereas in the background here, you can see the native prairie where the ice plant hasn't grown yet, and it's forming a native plant habitat. This is just a monoculture of one plant growing and spreading, reproducing. Here are two other non-native plants not considered invasive, but often growing in disturbed areas and along maintained trails. They are both from the Mediterranean region in Europe that has a similar climate, so they grow very well here. Both wild radish and Mediterranean mustard are grown as edible crop plants and probably escaped from cultivated fields nearby, and now it is growing wild. It is considered an introduced non-native plant. Here you can see the volunteers removing them before they set seeds. This is the Mediterranean mustard here, and this is the wild radish with the purple flowers. One last native plant in the dunes is the beach morning glory that grows like a vine on the dunes. The plants come up from underground stems all along the dunes. The leaves are kidney-shaped, leathery, smooth, and the sand just blows right off. They have large pink individual flowers that open only in the full sun and the heat of the day. Beach morning glory produces large seeds that have a hard outer coating adapted to floating in seawater. If blown out to sea, they float on the current and get washed up again on a beach, maybe miles away. Above the high tide line, they can germinate and start a new plant in another dune area. These are the adaptations that plants in the dune community have. Deep, large root systems that help keep the plant in place and store water and nutrients for plant growth. Plants that have long spreading branches above the soil, producing leaves, flowers, and seeds. Leaves that are succulent and often gray-green from the hairs on the leaves that keep them fresh and cool. The plants are low-growing, spreading, and form a mat on the ground that help keep the sand in place. The plants are adding nutrients to the soil and provide food and shelter to the local wildlife. When the non-native plants are kept out of the dunes, it is a diverse plant community we can enjoy along this nature trail in our area of Half Moon Bay. So this is what the California native plant dune community looks like in Half Moon Bay. I hope you have enjoyed our walk and have fun looking for new plants to discover. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Ms. Corelli. Now that we've seen this presentation, we're going to do an activity based off of it. This activity is going to be making plant wanted posters. In order to do this, you can use the resources attached by your teacher to identify an invasive plant and then draw the poster on the attached sheet. On your poster, you should have a picture of your plant, the name of the plant as well as the scientific name, a description of what the plant looks like its leaves, if it has flowers, the colors, its origin or where it's from, its crime or threat, its crime, why it's a threat to our environment here, and just an extra fact about it. On my poster, I did a eucalyptus tree. So I have the eucalyptus tree with a drawing of it, and then I have its scientific name, Eucalyptus globulus. I have a description of it, which is just a tall tree with long ovalish, bluish-green leaves and a quite distinctive smell and bark that peels off. Its origin is Australia. The crime that the crime that it has committed is the fact that it changes the soil, and then it also blocks light from getting to other plants. And since they're full of oil, they pose a huge fire risk in California. And then one thing to know, just a random fact about it, eucalyptus oil is an essential oil and is used in medicines and can ward off ticks. I challenge you guys to be the sheriffs of the plant community and hunt down an invasive plant.